Hello, welcome to Ask Ashley Live. I'm here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I'm giving it a shot going live on Instagram at the same time I'm on my YouTube channel, which is ashley.tube, and on Facebook as well. So I'm really excited to be here today. I'm going to share a couple things about some wins that I've heard about this week, and then a major breakthrough I had yesterday with my own coach. So I'm very excited to share all that. If you're coming here for the first time, I'm Ashley Jangro. I'm a mental wellness coach that helps moms build up their own mental strength so that they have the strength, the support, and the strategies that they need to raise mentally strong kids. So if you are interested, this is a call-in show. If you're interested in calling in to be on in the live studio, you can use the link that's in the comments on my YouTube video. The YouTube is ashley.tube again. If you do want to do that, you click the link and you enter into like a studio room, which allows you to like check your mic and your camera before you just jump into the room. So you won't just be jumping on live right away. So you can come on if you want to ask any questions, if you want to share a win of your own from the week, or if you just want to talk. So I invite you to do that. Otherwise, if we do not have anybody joining in, and I don't think we do so far, then I'm really excited to share about these wins. I had a client who is currently in the Mentally Strong Moms beta program. Give me a call last night. She actually sent a message, a video message to me to share this, and I was so excited about it. She called me and she was crying, and immediately I thought, uh-oh, something's going on. And she said, don't worry, these are happy tears. And she wanted to share with me that it had started because of something that I had taught during the Mentally Strong Moms Method program. But she was mostly excited about this because while she was doing the work that she's doing for the program, she had her own win, her own breakthrough that was kind of unrelated to what I'd been teaching. She took it to the next level, and she was very excited about it. So she was sharing with me how she was sitting in the car with her daughter, and her daughter said something, and her brain immediately, I guess this is how I'm imagining it, her brain immediately jumped to oh, this is a problem. And she stepped back for a second. Well, not step back while driving, but she took a second and she realized oh, I know what I'm doing here. This is not an emergency. I know what to say here. And so she shared with her daughter something that she had been working on in her own life. And her daughter, kind of listened and was like, oh, okay, great, mom, thanks. But she used an example of this is how I do it in my life, which is the basis of all of the Mentally Strong Moms program, which is we build up mom's mental strength so she has that experiential knowledge of those strategies so she can pass them on to her child who either may or may not be struggling with mental health, but so that she knows how to give that support that her child needs. So she shared this thing with her daughter. And her daughter, went on to do her event and came back afterwards and was bubbling with energy. And she was like, Mom, that thing you said, that way you helped me, not only did it change everything for me during this event that I was at, but I was able to, tell my friend how this was affecting me, and it started affecting her too. And so my client who was sharing this with me and is crying was sharing all these different levels. I noticed she had all these different levels of wins from this. First of all, she said she was crying because it was so profound for her, because she did not have these experiences with her own mom where she was able to share and have growth through discussions with her own mom. But then it was on another level because she had that win with her daughter. She felt like, I don't even know if my daughter's listening to me right now, but she was able to see after the fact, yeah, when I'm sharing about my own experiences, when I'm able to share in a way that's non-threatening to my child because of how I'm sharing, she listens. And I talk all the time in the Mentally Strong Mom program about how even if we feel like our kids aren't listening to this, they still have those mirror neurons that mean they will emulate what we are sharing with them, even when they're not aware of it. So she's telling me that she had this win with her daughter, and then there was a win on another level because her daughter had a win because of it. And we know as moms, when our kids have success in something, it feels like success to us too. It feels like a win to us too. So it was just like all these different levels. And then her daughter's friend had a win. And then I started thinking about all the people who were listening to this conversation between her daughter and her daughter's friend. And I thought, moms, this is how we can change the mental health crisis that is going on with this generation right now. When we are when we're improving our own mental health and we're sharing that with our children, we have that experiential knowledge of these strategies and we're sharing that with our children. And then they go on to have those wins and they share it with their friends. This is how we can affect so many kids in this generation. And that's where I start thinking about this is going to be a movement of moms. We take over our kids' mental health. We learn the strategies and we gain an experiential knowledge of them. So we know how to walk our children through them. And we know how to share them in a way that doesn't make our kids feel threatened by it, doesn't make us feel like we're in a coach role or in a teacher role, but in a way that they can listen to us. I'm just going to read this comment real quick from Gunilla that you'll say, yes. So often it feels like our kids are not listening, but then we realize later that they put it into practice. I mean, it applies to me too. I think all the time about times I hear my mother's voice coming out of my mouth and I'm like, I don't even realize that she taught me that, but I know that what I'm learning from her, I apply it even when I probably wasn't listening as a teenager. Sorry, Mom. So I felt like there was like all these levels of wins. And it all came from this fact that, I was teaching this concept in the Mentally Strong Mom method, and she was doing the work outside of it. And she just had this profound moment where she realized, oh, this is something I can share with my daughter. And she was able to remember in the moment, I got this. I know what to do here. And that really built up her confidence to do what she knew to do. And of course, it would be the right thing because she's the exact mother that her child's supposed to have. And you know how we know that? Because she is the mother that her child has. So therefore, she's supposed to be, because otherwise, we're just arguing with reality. So I was just so pleased with this win she had yesterday. In addition to that, I met with my coach yesterday and had just such a huge breakthrough. And it just really reminded me of how powerful, even when I know how to do this thought work on my own, even when I know how to coach myself, how powerful it is for me to sit with someone else and gain their perspective on my thoughts. And Gunilla, I hope you're still listening because it is you that reminds me every time to go sign up for those coaching sessions and to get there every week. And I am so grateful. I can tend to think, I know how to do this on my own. And Gunilla always reminds me, no, go sign up for that. It's going to make a difference. So thank you for that. So I was meeting with my coach and it just was coincidental that I had this on the calendar for a time right before I had to have a difficult phone call that I was nervous about. I had to say some things that just made me feel anxious. And I had spent a lot of time coaching myself on it. And I thought things like, I would look at my thoughts and I would think, oh, I don't know how to say this, or I don't know how to bring this up. And I would realize that thought's not really making me feel how I want to feel. It would make me feel anxious. So I would rewrite my thought and say, I know how to handle anything. I know how to have a meaningful conversation no matter what the circumstances. And I was rewriting my thought that way. Regardless, I had still done what I teach in the Mentally Strong Mom method, which is a thought download. And I had written out a paragraph of, here are all my thoughts. And so my coach met with me and she said, okay, tell me about these thoughts that are coming up for you. And she grabbed one and it's making me smile. I'll get to this at the end of this, but it's like, it's something I teach in the Mentally Strong Mom method, and I didn't even catch that I was doing it myself. So she grabbed one where I wrote, this is serious. Like what we have to talk about, this is serious. And she just asked me, she's like, how does that make you feel when you think that thought, this is serious? And I thought about it for a second. I told her panicked. And she just asked me like, how do you show up when you're feeling that panic? And I told her, I stumble over my words and I second guess myself and I get really, really emotionally heightened. And I say things that I wish I wouldn't have said sometimes. And I realized how often that was, well, I'll get to that in a second, but she just, kind of sat back and she was like, do you like that thought? Do you want to show up that way? And I had never thought about it this way where I can use And I told her, "This thought though, it feels so true to me. It feels real." And she's like, "I know, but it's not serving you. It's not helpful to you. It's making you show up in a way that you wish you wouldn't." And so when I really thought about that, I thought, I've never thought about it this way. It's kind of seemed backwards to me, where I thought I can use how a thought makes me show up as justification, as proof to myself that that thought is not true or not useful, and therefore I can drop it. And that doesn't necessarily mean I drop it. But what I did, she said, what if you just thought, instead of this is serious, what if you just thought, this is no big deal? This is just a conversation that needs to be had and it's no big deal. And it hit me hard because I was like, well, that doesn't feel true. And she's like, that's okay. Just get into that energy. And it was so powerful. She gave me another instance of a similar conversation I had in the past that didn't seem like a big deal. And she's like, what if you just, kind of embody the energy of when it wasn't a big deal? And it reminded me of when I was training to be a counselor. And I think it was probably cognitive behavioral therapy that we were studying. It was one of the types of therapy we were studying. And there was a strategy that they used that was called as if. So you act as if you believe something else. And in acting as if you believe something else, you begin to believe it. And so I thought, okay, I can take on that energy that this really isn't a big deal. And she asked me, how would you show up if you weren't thinking it's not a big deal? And I was like, wow, I would use facts and I would be curious and I would, I don't know, I wouldn't panic. I would be calm the whole time and I'd be open to listening in a way that I wouldn't be if I was thinking this is serious. So I just decided, okay, I'm going to act as if I believe that. And it was so incredible because by the end of the conversation, I realized I believed that it wasn't a big deal. It's like by acting as if it made that come true because it became something that was manageable, that was not a big deal. So it just was such a profound moment with my coach because not only did it impact that conversation, but I realized how many times in life I am walking around with this belief. It is serious. I mean, it could be like my kids didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. And I'm like, whoa, this is serious. Like they're showing a real pattern of disrespect around here. Or if my daughter comes home from school really grouchy and I'm like, this is serious. Like something's probably going on. And I didn't even know that that thought was floating around in my brain. I wasn't even aware that that was happening. And so it just reminded me of like this genuine power of, first of all, doing that thought download so I could see it in writing. I may have had it somewhere in the background or like a half sentence, but once I wrote it down, I was like, oh, there's that thought. But it also in my own self-coaching, it wasn't the thought that I grabbed onto to like investigate and to see like, how is this making me show up? And so when my coach picked that one, I thought, yeah, okay, but that's just a fact. Like that, this is serious. This is factual. And she was like, actually, it's not. Another person may not think of it as serious. And so because she grabbed that thought, it just allowed me to like have this major breakthrough, not just with that phone call, but with like so many areas of my life, because I caught myself the rest of the day being like, yeah, but this is serious. And the reason it makes me laugh so much is because the phrase that I teach in Mentally Strong Moms is that emotions are not an emergency. And that is just a different way of saying this is serious. But because the wording was a little bit different, I was not catching it in my own life. And it just makes me laugh. And I hope I can actually see that some of my, the people in my beta program of Mentally Strong Moms are here. And you'll get to give me a hard time about this on our Q&A later, because I was walking around with the exact same thought that I help you guys become aware of and see how it is creating the results that you don't want. And I was so blind to that. So again, it just made me really grateful that a coach could pull that out and see how that was going. So that's what I have to share today about my own breakthrough and about my client's breakthrough that I was really excited about. I still just want to give a second to see if anybody has any questions, if anyone wants to jump on, which if they don't, that's fine, because clearly I love to talk. And so I can always fill this space. But I just want to remind you that I'm here every week. Ask Ashley Live every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I show up on my YouTube channel, which is ashley.tube. Apparently, I showed up on Instagram Live as well. So hopefully that worked in a way that it hasn't worked in the previous weeks. And then I'm on my Facebook page also, which is just Ashley Jane Grow. So if you ever want to hop on and say, I've been really thinking about, I want to say noodling because of one of the shows we watch, but if you've really been noodling about something um, that I brought up in one of these lives or in any of my content on social media, and I just have a question about it, hop on. You have a chance to check yourself in your camera before you hop on. But I invite you to come do that because we have some really great discussions in our live Q&As in the Mentally Strong Moms program. And this is your opportunity to have a taste of that. So if you ever even want to do live coaching where I can coach you, it does mean that other people would be listening, but it's a really great experience. So I invite you to do that. In addition to that, I also invite you, if you are a mom that is listening in because your child is either struggling with mental health and you want to have that experience of learning those strategies so that you can be the support for them. Or if your child is not, but you want to prevent that from ever becoming a struggle, if you want to, get ahead of it and learn those strategies, I would love to invite you into my free online community, which is called the Mom Squad. You can reach that by going to momsquad.ashley.tube. And it's fantastic. I share, some of the more personal stories in there and what I'm learning and what I'm coaching on, just because I can see who's in there. So I'd love to have you in that group. In addition to that, I think I keep saying in addition to that, but in addition to that, things are going fantastic with the beta program of Mentally Strong Moms. If you in the past signed up to be part of that and the schedule didn't work or any of that, I am opening up my next cohort in March. I'm so excited about this. This will be the formal launch of the program. I'd love to have you as a part of it. If you are interested, you can go to my website, ashleyjanegrow.com, and sign up to be on the wait list for that. That just means you'll get information. You'll be alerted when it opens because I'm not sure exactly the date yet. So I'd love to have you as a part of that as well. So again, that website is ashleyjanegrow.com. Probably if you're on my social media, you can figure out how to spell that. So I look forward to having you in the Mom Squad, in the Mentally Strong Moms program, or here next week for my next Ask Ashley Live on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Oh, I do have a question. So I'm going to answer this before I jump off. So Gunilla is asking, how would you recommend supporting our kids if they are saying they suffer from anxiety and depression in a way that doesn't confirm you also believe they have a problem? I love talking about this. I just published a series on my YouTube channel called What If Anxiety is Not a Problem? And I kept writing the description and I would start with, I love talking about anxiety. And that sounds so weird because who loves talking about anxiety? I do, because I've learned to think about it in a completely different way than I ever used to. And I think this is what you're alluding to, Gunilla, is I don't think of it as a problem anymore. I think of it as a completely normal human emotion that is uncomfortable in our bodies, but certainly not unmanageable. Oh, I think I lost my connection on Instagram. Hopefully, if I do lose my connection on Instagram again, you can hop over onto ashley.tube and see this live on YouTube because my connection's going in and out. But I do not think of anxiety as a problem any longer. It's uncomfortable, but not unmanageable. So when I talk about supporting our kids with this, it's kind of and the way you asked it indicates to me you also think of anxiety that way, but you don't want to dismiss any of their concerns. And I think that is so critical. I think that one of the most important things we need to do with our kids is first, before ever getting into coaching or teaching, validate their emotions. And the way I do that is I just ask them about it. What does that feel like when you're feeling anxiety? Talk to me about it. Tell me, where do you feel it in your body? What does it create for you? When does it happen? When are you noticing that come up? And just asking questions to explore what is this like for their lives? Because I really want to provide a way that they feel understood and heard. And beyond that, I almost never I'm laughing at myself because I think this, and my daughter called me out on it this week. I think I almost never go into teaching mode, but my daughter's corrected me on that recently. So apparently I do. But I endeavor to not go into teaching mode or lecture mode or coach mode with my kids, especially without permission. I would ask permission first. But what I try to do is offer support by sharing with them, hey, this is how I wouldn't even say it in that moment, but later being like, oh, I was really struggling with my anxiety recently. I had this struggle going on and here's how I dealt with it. And then I walk them through like, yeah, I was feeling super anxious about this situation. And I remembered this emotion isn't an emergency, but it was crazy because in the moment, it certainly felt like an emergency. So what I had to do is I had to like step back for a moment and notice, where am I feeling this in my body, and really breathe into it and practice those breathing exercises that we've talked about. And then I found like the shape and the color of it. And I talked to him about how I did that. And I'm like, the result was crazy. It began to dissipate and it didn't feel so uncomfortable. If that wasn't my results, if it didn't begin to dissipate, if it was just there, I would say, and I realized like I can still do the things I need to do. Like I'm uncomfortable in my body right now, but it's again not unmanageable. And so I can kind of like carry that emotion with me, sort of like I have a heavy backpack on, but I can still continue doing things like the same way you guys keep going to class, even though you have to carry these heavy backpacks. I just kind of think of my anxiety like that, like, okay, I can handle this. The other strategy that I talk about a lot in the Mentally Strong Mom Method and in my social media is I bring this up when we're watching movies or reading books together. So I mentioned in our session last week that my daughter and I were recently watching a scary movie together, and there was this one scene in the scary movie where it got super super tense, and there was like this like little kid laughter sound, and I turned to her and I was like, "This is the exact emotion I get when I have anxiety," and it's crazy because we're like doing it willingly. Isn't that weird? And we talked about it a little after because once the movie ended, I I laugh about it because I think we didn't stop and turn off the movie. We immediately started watching the sequel because we wanted that emotion again. And I'm like, isn't that so weird? Like we think of anxiety as such a problem, but then we come watch this movie that creates the exact same emotion in our bodies and we like it. So that's one of the ways I talk to them about it. If they are feeling anxious, I'm like, does it feel the same as when we were watching that scary movie? And it's just like a low key way to discuss it without threatening them, without being like, here's why, here's why you don't need, here's why it's not a problem. And here's why you shouldn't be feeling this because we're humans. We don't want to hear that, first of all, but especially because they're children, their brains are developed differently than ours. They do not have the same amount of access to the executive functioning that's happening in their prefrontal cortex as we do. They won't until they're around 25 years old. I joke with my daughters all the time that when they turn 25, we're going to have a prefrontal cortex party. I'm going to get like a brain cake because they will have full connection and full development of their prefrontal cortex. But what that means is that they cannot jump into a rational conversation when their emotions are heightened. I mean, we can't either, but they have even less ability to do so because their prefrontal cortex is not developed. So in knowing that, I realize like we can't, when emotions are heightened, it is pointless for us to try to have a rational discussion. I talk a lot in the program about and this is something that's taught in counseling programs as well, about our barking dog, which is like the emotional side of our brain, sees emergencies and it starts barking. And our wise owl, I try to make my hand look like an owl. Our wise owl, oops, you can't see it on Instagram. Our wise owl is like our prefrontal cortex or the part of our brain that has access to that executive functioning, like decision making and like rational thinking and like planning ahead and all of those things. And when our dog starts barking, it scares the owl away. So we don't have access to that until we've calmed that dog down. And every time I do this, my mom is like, my mom, my daughter is like, "Mom, are you seriously making your hand into a dog and petting it?" And I'm like, "Well, yes, I like to calm my dog down." So we talk about that a lot on non-heightened moments. And with my younger one, I happen to know you have teenagers, and so that's a little bit different. But my younger one, she's even named her dog, and I'll ask her like, "Is your dog barking right now?" I don't say that to my teenagers. I think they would do the whole body eye roll at me if I did. But I do talk to them about, oh, okay, I have to do this thing and my dog is barking and I got to do some calm. I'm doing it again. I'm doing the pet again. I got to do some calming down before I can think rationally about the situation again. And so I will say to them, yep, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my square breathing right now. Square breathing is a technique where, I go across the top line. So I breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. So that's one of the things I do to calm myself down. Or I focus on lengthening my exhale to engage my parasympathetic nervous system. So as they're seeing me do this repeatedly, whether or not they think that they're picking up on this, whether or not later they're like, oh, I should do that thing mom told me about, they do it. They try it. And they almost always come back and tell me, yeah, I was just about to go out. I talk about this a lot in my videos too. I was just about to go out for my cheer competition. I was super nervous. And so I thought about calming my dog down and I thought about changing my thoughts and I thought about doing the breathing exercises. And then they'll share with me how that impacted them. So I think that is a huge way to show support without feeling threatening to our kids, is to just share with them, yeah, that's totally a normal human emotion. And here's how I deal with it when I am experiencing it. And again, doing that in non-emotionally heightened moments. So hopefully that answered your question. If anyone else has questions, I will continue answering them. In the meantime, I'm going to take a sip of my tea. I love that you like that, Camilla, the prefrontal cortex party with a brain cake. I think we're going to have to get brain balloons, but I'm not sure where to find those. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I will see you here next week at 10 a.m. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time Wednesdays, or in the Mom Squad, which is the free online community, which you can reach by going to momsquad.ashley.tube, or on any of my social media platforms, or on the wait list for the next Mentally Strong Mom Method, which will be launching in March. I will see you there.